Jake wasn't special. He was just a normal guy from Earth who got lucky enough to work on Starbase Alpha, the biggest space station ever built. It floated high above Earth, a shiny metal home for humans and aliens alike. Every day, Jake put on his blue uniform and walked to his job in the control room. He liked his job. It wasn't exciting, but it was important. Jake made sure all the station's systems were working right. On this day, Jake yawned as he sat down at his desk. His alien co-worker, Zix, waved hello with one of its 4 tentacles. Zix looked like a big purple octopus wearing a spacesuit. Jake smiled and waved back. "Quiet day today, huh?" Jake said. Zix made a bubbly sound that meant yes in its language. Jake started his usual checks. He looked at screens, pushed buttons, and wrote down numbers. It was the same thing he did every day. But today was different. Jake didn't know it yet, but today would change everything. As Jake worked, he thought about lunch. The station's cafeteria was serving pizza today. Real pizza, not the fake space food kind. His stomach growled. Focus, Jake, he told himself. He had one more system to check before lunch. Jake looked at the big screen in front of him. It showed a picture of the whole station. Everything looked normal. He reached out to push the green Alt Clear button like he always did. But Jake's hand slipped. Instead of the green button, his finger hit the big red one next to it, the one labeled Emergency Safety On. For a second, nothing happened. Jake blinked, not sure if he really hit the wrong button. Then, everything went crazy. Red lights started flashing everywhere. A loud alarm blared through the whole station. On the big screen, parts of the station's picture turned red. Jake's eyes went wide. His heart raced. "Oh no," he whispered. Zix's tentacles all shot up in surprise. Other workers in the room started shouting and running around. Jake knew he messed up bad. This button was only for the worst emergencies. It shut down major parts of the station. It could put everyone in danger if it wasn't fixed fast. He had to do something. Jake's hands flew over the controls, trying to undo what he did. But nothing worked. The emergency system was locked. Jake felt panic rising in his chest. He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "It's okay," he told himself. "I can fix this." He reached for the emergency manual under his desk. As he pulled it out, he knocked over his coffee mug. Hot coffee spilled all over the controls. "Whoops," Jake said without thinking. Suddenly, everything stopped. The alarms cut off. The red lights stopped flashing. On the big screen, all the red parts turned green again. Jake stared, not believing what he saw. Did he fix it? How? He looked around the room. All the human workers looked relieved, but the aliens, they looked scared. Zix had turned a pale white color. Its eyes were huge, all 4 of them locked on Jake. Everything's okay now," Jake said, confused by their reactions. Zix made a strange gurgling noise and backed away slowly. The other aliens in the room did the same. They all looked at Jake like he was some kind of monster. Jake didn't understand. He fixed the problem, right? Why were they acting so weird? He turned back to his controls, scratching his head. Humans made mistakes sometimes. It wasn't a big deal. He'd have to file a report, maybe get a lecture from his boss. But that was it. No harm done. As Jake started cleaning up the spilled coffee, he didn't notice Zix sneaking out of the room. He didn't see the alien rush to the communication center. And he had no idea that at that very moment, Zix was sending an urgent message to its home planet. The message said, "Humans have magic words. One just saved the station. We may be in danger. Send help." Jake, still clueless about what really happened, just hoped he could finish cleaning up in time for pizza. While Jake munched on his pizza in the cafeteria, unaware of the chaos he had caused, the alien part of Starbase Alpha was in full panic mode. Zix, the purple octopus-like alien, had spread the word fast. Aliens of all shapes and sizes gathered in their common area. Some looked like tall trees with eyes. Others were small and fuzzy, like talking stuffed animals. A few even floated in the air like colorful balloons. They all spoke at once, their voices a mix of squeaks, rumbles, and whispers. "Did you hear?" A tree alien asked, its leaves shaking. The human used a magic word. "I was there." Zix bubbled excitedly. He said, "Whoops," and everything fixed itself. A small furry alien bounced up and down. "But what does it mean? Is it dangerous?" Gloop, the station's alien leader, raised all 6 of his arms for quiet. He looked like a big blue jelly with eyes on stalks. "Friends, let's not panic," he said, even though he felt pretty panicky himself. Just then, the door opened. Every alien froze. Jake walked in, still holding his half-eaten pizza. The room went so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Or in this case, a pizza topping. A piece of pepperoni fell from Jake's slice and hit the floor with a soft plop. Jake looked around, confused. "Oh, hi everyone. Is this a party I didn't know about?" No one answered. They all stared at him, eyes wide, those who had eyes anyway. Jake scratched his head. "Okay. Well, don't let me interrupt. I just came to get a napkin." He walked to the dispenser, grabbed a napkin, and left, giving a little wave as he went. As soon as the door closed behind him, the room exploded with noise again. "Did you see that?" Zix exclaimed. He almost said it again. He opened his mouth and everything. "We're doomed," wailed a balloon-like alien, deflating slightly in fear. Gloop waved his arms again. "Please, everyone, we need to think about this calmly. What do we actually know about this? This Whoops?" A skinny alien with a big brain raised a tentacle. "Well, it seems to have great power. It fixed the station when nothing else could." "But the human used it so casually," added a furry alien, "like it was nothing special." Zix's eyes spun in thought. Maybe they don't know how powerful they are. This idea sent a new wave of panic through the group. Imagine a species with that kind of power, not even aware of what they could do. Gloop felt a headache coming on. "Okay, here's what we'll do. First, we contact the Galactic Council. They need to know about this. Second, we watch the humans closely. Learn everything we can about this Whoops and any other words they might have." "Should we talk to them about it?" someone asked. "No," Gloop said quickly. "We can't let them know we've discovered their secret. It might be dangerous." The aliens nodded in agreement. They broke into groups, each with a task. Some would watch the humans. Others would research Earth history for clues. A few brave volunteers would try to get closer to Jake to learn more about him. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Jake finished his pizza. He burped, then said, "Excuse me," even though no one was around. He had no idea that if any aliens had heard him, they might have thought he was casting another spell. As Jake headed back to work, the aliens put their plan into action. Zix followed Jake at a safe distance, hiding behind plants and corners. Other aliens started checking Earth databases, looking for any mention of powerful words. And far away, on planets across the galaxy, alien leaders received urgent messages about the humans and their mysterious abilities. The news spread like wildfire through space. All because of one little word, Whoops. Jake yawned as he sat back at his desk. Weird day, he muttered to himself. He had no idea just how weird things were about to get. News travels fast in space, especially when aliens think humans have magic powers. Within days, the story of Jake and his Whoops spread across the galaxy like a wildfire in zero gravity. On the planet Zoob, a world of constant rain and talking umbrellas, the High Council gathered for an emergency meeting. They huddled under a giant leaf, their umbrella bodies twitching nervously. "These humans," said the chief umbrella, his handle shaking, "they have words of power. We must learn more." On Squishopia, a planet of living jellies, the Wobble Queen addressed her subjects. "Our observers report that humans can reshape reality with a single word. We must be cautious." Even the fearsome Zargans, a warrior race that looked like angry pineapples with laser guns, were worried. Their supreme commander paced back and forth, his spiky head swaying. "If humans can fix problems just by talking, how can we ever defeat them in battle?" Back on Starbase Alpha, Jake remained blissfully unaware of his newfound fame. He went about his day as usual, checking systems, eating lunch, and occasionally saying whoops when he dropped things. Each time, nearby aliens would gasp and duck for cover. Zix, still tasked with observing Jake, was having a tough time. The poor alien was constantly on edge, expecting reality to warp every time Jake opened his mouth. When Jake sneezed and said, "Excuse me," Zix nearly fainted, convinced the station would explode or turn into cheese. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council, the biggest group of alien leaders in the universe, called an emergency session. Representatives from thousands of worlds gathered in a huge space arena. They looked like a bizarre mix of shapes and colors, from floating clouds to walking rocks to beings made of pure light. The head counselor, a wise old alien who looked like a giant, sparkly space squid, called for order. "Fellow beings of the galaxy, we face an unprecedented situation. The humans of Earth have words of immense power." Gasps and murmurs filled the arena. "But," continued the head counselor, waving his tentacles for quiet, "we know very little about these abilities. We need more information before we decide what to do." A small, mouse-like alien squeaked. "What if the humans decide to use their words against us?" "That's why we must act carefully," the head counselor replied. "We will send our best spies and scientists to Earth. They will study human language and culture. We must learn the full extent of their power." The council voted unanimously to approve the plan. Soon, alien spies were heading to Earth in disguise. Some posed as tourists, others as exchange students or diplomats. Their mission: to uncover the secrets of human language. On Earth, strange things started happening. Linguists found their research facilities mysteriously upgraded overnight. Language learning apps became the most downloaded programs worldwide, and sales of dictionaries skyrocketed, much to the confusion of bookstore owners. People also noticed an increase in odd tourists. They asked weird questions like, "What is the meaning of oopsie daisy?" and "Can you demonstrate the power of abracadabra?" Most humans just assumed these were quirky foreigners trying to learn English. All this activity didn't go unnoticed by Earth's governments. Intelligence agencies reported unusual interest in human languages from alien worlds. Diplomats received strange requests for word-sharing treaties. It all seemed harmless, if a bit weird, but world leaders decided to keep a close eye on the situation. As for Jake, his life on the space station continued normally, or so he thought. He didn't notice how aliens hum on his every word. He didn't see how they flinched when he spoke, or how they studied his casual conversations with intense focus. One day, as Jake walked down a corridor, he tripped over his own feet. "Oops," he said, catching himself on the wall. Behind him, a group of aliens dove for cover, expecting the station to transform or teleport. When nothing happened, they peeked out cautiously. One whispered to another, "Write that down." Oops must be a less powerful version of whoops. Jake turned, blinked at the aliens hiding behind plants and chairs, and shrugged. "Weird," he muttered, continuing on his way. Little did Jake know, his every word was being recorded, analyzed, and sent to alien worlds across the galaxy. The greatest misunderstanding in the history of space was only getting bigger, and Earth was about to find itself at the center of a very strange galactic drama. Jake's life was about to change, but he had no clue. He woke up one morning, yawned, and got ready for work like always. As he left his room on Starbase Alpha, he noticed something odd. The hallway was unusually crowded with aliens, all staring at him. Good morning," Jake said, waving awkwardly. The aliens gasped. Some bowed, others took notes, and a few even applauded. Jake scratched his head, confused, and walked on. In the cafeteria, more strange things happened. When Jake reached for a spoon, 3 aliens rushed to hand him one. When he sat down, everyone nearby moved to give him space, watching him eat with wide eyes. "Okay, what's going on?" Jake asked his friend Tom, another human worker. Tom looked nervous. "You haven't heard? Jake, you're famous. Your picture is all over the galaxy." Jake almost choked on his cereal. "What? Why? Before Tom could answer, Zix rushed in, all four tentacles waving excitedly. Jake, great news. The Galactic Council wants to meet you. Jake blinked. The what now? The Galactic Council. Zix bubbled. The most important aliens in the universe. They're sending a ship to pick you up today. Jake's mouth fell open. He looked at Tom, who shrugged helplessly. But I have work, Jake said weakly. Zix laughed, a sound like bubbles popping. Oh, Jake, you're too funny. Come on, we need to get you ready. Before Jake knew it, he was whisked away to prepare for his trip. Aliens measured him for a special spacesuit, taught him about galactic etiquette, and tried to explain why he was so important. Jake understood about half of what they said, mostly because they kept using words like lexical superhero and syllabic savior. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, excitement was building. On the planet Fizzle, where the inhabitants are made of soda, bubbles spelled out, "Jake is coming" in the sky. On Whisker World, cats in spacesuits practice rolling out a red carpet with their paws. Even the grumpy rock people of Granite AX were polishing their best boulders for the occasion. Back on Earth, Jake's family was in for a surprise. His parents were watching TV when breaking news interrupted their show. A reporter stood in front of a giant screen showing Jake's face. In an unprecedented event, the reporter said, "Earth has been invited to join the Galactic Council." How representative. A previously unknown man named Jake Smith, who apparently impressed alien leaders with his word powers. The government is as confused as we are. Jake's mom dropped her coffee mug. "Is that our Jake?" she gasped. Jake's dad squinted at the screen. "Huh. I always said that boy would go far. Didn't think he'd go galactic, though." As the news spread on Earth, people reacted with a mix of excitement, confusion, and pride. World leaders scrambled to brief Jake on international relations, hoping he wouldn't accidentally start an interstellar war by saying the wrong thing. On Starbase Alpha, Jake stood in the docking bay, wearing a shiny new spacesuit. He felt like he was in a dream, or maybe a weird sci-fi movie. A sleek silver spaceship appeared, hovering outside the station. It was shaped like a giant, elegant pen. The ship docked and outstepped the most impressive alien Jake had ever seen. It looked like a tall, shimmering aurora borealis in the shape of a person. "Greetings, Jake of Earth," the alien said in a voice like chiming crystals. "I am Ambassador Lumina of the Galactic Council. We are honored by your presence." Jake, feeling very small and very human, managed a wobbly smile. "Hi there. Nice to meet you." The ambassador's lights flickered rapidly, which Jake guessed was alien for excited. "The honor is ours, master of words. Are you ready to change the fate of the galaxy?" Jake looked back at the station, then at the magnificent ship, then at the twinkling stars beyond. He took a deep breath. "I have no idea what's happening," he said honestly, "but I guess I'm ready." As Jake stepped onto the ship, he had a feeling his life would never be the same. He just hoped that whatever these aliens thought he could do, he wouldn't let them down. Little did he know, the biggest adventure of his life, and the biggest misunderstanding in galactic history, was just beginning. Jake's journey through space was like nothing he'd ever imagined. The ship zoomed past stars and planets, leaving colorful trails in the black sky. Jake pressed his nose against the window, his eyes wide with wonder. "Wow," he whispered. Ambassador Lumina flickered brightly. "Careful with your words, Jake of Earth. We don't want to accidentally reshape reality." Jake turned confused. "What do you mean?" But before Lumina could answer, the ship slowed down. Outside, Jake saw a huge space station that looked like a giant, sparkling snowflake. "Welcome to the Galactic Council headquarters," Lumina announced. As they docked, Jake's stomach did flip-flops. He was nervous, excited, and very, very confused. The docking bay was filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like walking rainbows, others like talking rocks. One even looked like a floating spaghetti dinner. They all watched Jake with a mix of awe and fear. Jake waved awkwardly. "Hi there." The aliens gasped and ducked. Jake blinked, even more confused. Lumina led Jake through shimmering corridors to a massive round room. In the center was a table shaped like a ring, with seats for hundreds of aliens. Above, a dome showed the swirling colors of space. "Wow," Jake said again. This time, he noticed how everyone flinched when he spoke. The head counselor, a giant, glittery squid-like alien, floated forward. "Welcome, Jake of Earth. We are honored by your presence." Jake scratched his head. "Thanks, but why am I here? I'm just a normal guy." The room filled with murmurs. The head counselor's tentacles wiggled in surprise. "But you have the power of words. You can change reality with a single whoops." Jake's mouth fell open. "Wait, what? Is that what this is about?" He looked around the room. Every alien was watching him, waiting. Jake took a deep breath. "Okay, look," he said. "I think there's been a big misunderstanding. Whoops isn't a magic word. It's just something we say when we make a mistake." The room erupted in chaos. Aliens were shouting, some hiding under their seats, others demanding explanations. The head counselor waved its tentacles for quiet. "But we saw you fix the station's emergency with this word." Jake thought back. "Oh, that day? No, that was just a coincidence. I spilled coffee on the controls, and it must have fixed the glitch somehow. Whoops was just me being clumsy." More chaos. Some aliens looked disappointed, others relieved. A few looked like they might faint. Zix, who had come along for the trip, bounced excitedly. "But what about whoops? And excuse me, are those power words too?" Jake couldn't help but laugh. "No, those are just polite things we say. Oops is like whoops. Excuse me is what we say when we burp or need to squeeze past someone." The head counselor's eyes spun in confusion. "So, humans don't have magic words?" "Nope," Jake said. "We're just regular folks. We make mistakes, we say silly things, we try to be polite. That's all." The room went quiet. Jake worried he had disappointed everyone. But then a small, furry alien spoke up. "You mean you make mistakes, and you're okay with it? You even have special words for it?" Jake nodded. "Sure. Everyone makes mistakes. The important thing is to admit it and try to fix it." Slowly, the aliens started to nod. Some even smiled. The head counselor's tentacles curled thoughtfully. "Perhaps," it said, "we have much to learn from humans after all. Not about magic, but about being okay with imperfection." Jake grinned. "Well, we're pretty good at that." As the aliens began to chat excitedly among themselves, Jake felt a wave of relief. He hadn't let anyone down after all. In fact, it seemed like his ordinary human ways might have taught these advanced aliens something new. The head counselor floated closer to Jake. "We apologize for the misunderstanding, but we are glad you came. Would you consider staying to teach us more about human? What should we call it?" Jake thought for a moment, then smiled. "How about human whoopsies?" The room filled with alien laughter, and Jake knew that somehow he had managed to turn this big mistake into something wonderful. In the weeks that followed, Jake's human whoopsies became the hottest topic in the galaxy. Aliens from all over came to learn about making mistakes and being okay with it. Jake found himself teaching classes on the art of saying oops and excuse me. It's not just for burps. On the planet Perfectopia, where even a single hair out of place was a crime, riots broke out. Perfectionians marched in the streets, purposely messing up their hair and shouting, "Whoops! We're okay with it." The Zargans, those angry pineapple warriors, put down their laser guns and picked up mistake journals. Their new battle cry became "Oopsie Daisy," which confused their enemies so much that wars just stopped happening. Back on Earth, humans were surprised to find themselves sudden celebrities in space. Talk shows invited regular people to share their embarrassing moments. "I tripped and fell in front of my crush" became an inspirational story across the galaxies. One day, as Jake was teaching a class on the power of admitting you're wrong, alarms started blaring throughout the Galactic Council station. Red lights flashed, and a robotic voice announced, "Warning, quantum singularity detected. Station collapse imminent." Panic spread quickly. Aliens ran in all directions, bumping into each other and creating chaos. The head counselor's tentacles tied themselves in knots as it tried to calm everyone down. In the midst of the panic, Jake stood up on a table and shouted, "Hey, everyone, boo-hoo please." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Jake. "Look," Jake said, "we've got a big problem here, but panicking won't help. Let's think about this calmly. Who knows the most about quantum singularities?" A shy-looking alien that resembled a glowing brain in a jar raised a tentacle. I do, but I'm afraid I'll make a mistake and make things worse." Jake smiled encouragingly. "Making a mistake is better than doing nothing. Come on up here and let's figure this out together." The brain alien floated up to Jake. Together, they looked at the station's controls. The alien explained the problem, and Jake asked questions. When Jake didn't understand something, he'd say, "Whoops, I'm lost. Can you explain that again?" Seeing Jake admit his confusion helped the alien relax. Soon, they were working together, trying different solutions. Sometimes they'd mess up, and both would laugh and say, "Oops," before trying again. Other aliens started joining in. A rock-like alien suggested using its dense body to absorb some of the singularity's energy. A cloud alien thought it could help disperse the quantum particles. Each time someone shared an idea, the others would cheer, even if it didn't work. Finally, after many attempts and many cheerful whoops, the alarm stopped. The robotic voice announced, "Quantum singularity contained. Station stable. Well done, everyone." The room erupted in cheers. Aliens hugged each other, laughing and crying with relief. The head counselor's tentacles untangled themselves as it beamed with pride. "Jake of Earth," the head counselor said, "you and your fellow humans have taught us something invaluable. By embracing imperfection and working together, we averted a disaster. The galaxy owes you a great debt." Jake blushed. "Aw, it was nothing. We humans have been messing up and fixing things for centuries. We're kind of experts at it." From that day on, humans were seen as heroes across the galaxy, not for being perfect, but for being perfectly okay with imperfection. Earth became a popular vacation spot for aliens wanting to learn the art of whoopsie-daisy. Jake returned to Starbase Alpha, where he was greeted like a returning hero. Zix gave him a big tentacle hug. "You did it, Jake. You saved the galaxy with your human magic." Jake laughed. "It's not magic, Zix. It's just being human." As Jake walked to his old control room, he tripped and stumbled. "Whoops," he said, catching himself. Nearby aliens, instead of ducking for cover, smiled and said, "Whoops," right back. Jake grinned. The universe had changed, and it was a little bit better for it. Who knew that a simple whoops could save the galaxy? Sometimes, the most powerful magic of all is just being yourself, mistakes and all.